Hello, everyone, and welcome to the semifinals of the fourth season of the Collegiate Chess League. This is Division 2 match between Temple and CentraleSupélec University de Paris Saclay, I believe. I'm joined by National Master John Williams, also known as Butta on Twitch.
Uh,
We've got a match here underway, Butta, and some of the games have already started. Which one are you
Indeed,
looking
it
at?
looks like it. The one I'm starting with is actually we have 9-4 QA against
Mm-hmm.
Wikipedia 1288. Playing an opening near and dear to my heart. One that's also kind of interesting. If you want to take a look at that, we have a Scotch. I believe this is the Steinitz variation. It's a little bit weird with this King D8 move that Black ends up playing. So Black is up a pawn pretty early, but his piece is not quite as developed, not quite as strong, and his king probably not as safe, at least not long term. But if he can get everything organized and everything, he is just up a pawn. Um, I think White deviated a little bit early. I think Bishop D2 after Bishop B4 check is slightly unusual. I think normally the move there is just Knight B to C3, and eventually the game kind of continues similar to what happened with Queen takes C4 check, Bishop E2, and King D8. Except when White castles kingside, Black actually takes on C3 with the bishop, and then White takes back with the pawn, I believe. And the idea being that one of White's sort of compensatory ideas that he has for the extra pawn is the fact that he has the bishop pair. And here White doesn't have the bishop pair, which is actually a little bit frustrating, I think, for the White player. And so it might be more difficult to realize his compensation for the pawn that he's given up. So definitely interesting. I think here, even though maybe the engine slightly favors White, I think that Black certainly has a practical edge and probably I would say won the opening. So
Well, after Bishop F3, the engine now slightly favors Black after the move
indeed, yeah.
King C8. So we'll see if they find it.
King C8 is quite a move, actually. I kind of like it. I wonder if that engine just wants the king to like run all the way to A7 in order to be able to like connect the rooks. It would make some sense, and basically just like it's rare for you to see a manual castle. It's even more rare to see a manual castle queen side as opposed to a manual castle king side. And you definitely don't see king D8, king C8, king B8, king A7 every day. And it looks like Black's played it impressively.
Yeah. So it sounds like you know this opening fairly well. I don't, but Wikipedia, he's one of the stronger players in Division 2. He's actually the board 1 for the Temple team. He's actually also the team captain, Jeffrey, who's a fan
And
favorite.
I believe one of the stronger viewers of the stream, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's a
A
regular.
regular viewer. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And he's found the move King C8, so that's a good start for his king to go, as you said, castling by hand. Um,
Indeed.
Speaking of fan favorites, I want to check out on RB Spyro
Oh,
versus
wow.
Jimmy.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's actually normally a Temple B team player. He's been called up today to play in the big leagues here. Uh,
Interesting.
he's
Do you
playing
know
against. No,
what's going on with that?
I don't. But
Okay,
it's good to see him
definitely.
regardless of the circumstances. And he's playing up against pretty much 2,400 here from France, the board 1. So I'm actually looking forward to that round 4 match between both board 1s. They're both about 2,400, so that'll be pretty strong to see in D2.
That is a little bit tough. I'll be honest. But you know, you never know what could happen, to be honest.
And I think
Um,
is bishop b3 just winning for.
I think bishop b3 is just winning. I was hoping maybe we could get something cute like bishop c4, but I don't think there are any really good ideas there that work for white. Like,
Mm,
interestingly, like the queen is kind of trapped after white plays bishop c4. If uh we see takes on c2, you can actually just play like rook takes c2, for example, which is kind of cute. Or even rook takes d4, which is what I wanted to play, but after rook takes d4, black does not have to take back on d4. Instead, black can just move his bishop back to b3 and not allow the quote unquote exchange of queens. So
yeah.
yeah, it's kind of for white to decide here how he wants to continue. Um, Maybe something like queen f5 or queen c7 or queen e4 probably makes some of the most sense. And just recapturing on d1 with the rook, maybe trying to get lucky, but you
He
know,
goes here.
it's gonna be tough for sure.
Yeah, he's attacking the bishop, but
I think you can just take on b2 here for black is the issue. And there's just no bishop c4 because there's rook takes d1 with check. If you take on d8 first and then try to go bishop c4, there's queen takes a3 as well. Um,
I guess that's why queen c7 was a better shot because it pins the bishop on d4, but it also lines up perhaps bishop c4, which would be a trap on the queen, but also an attack on f7.
that would have
There would have been
been,
some more
yeah.
compensation. Still not clear. I guess black could just play like rook c8 or something.
Yeah, I
Um,
was gonna say I think rook a8. Then we have queen takes b7, right? And the nice thing about that is that it defends the b2 pawn. But
mhm.
here, unfortunately, it looks like kind of everything's falling apart.
Yeah, maybe we check on another game. I see
I
we
think
have
so.
Blue Sky versus DJ Onger. Looks like Blue Sky is winning that one. Look at this check on
Uh,
h4.
Blue Sky is winning this one?
Or no, excuse me. Black is
Okay.
winning. Black.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think black is definitely winning. Knight h4 is an incredible move. Obviously, the idea is after g takes h4, there's queen g4 check incoming, which is going to be painful, to say the least, for white. So, um,
Knight h4 is a nice find.
yeah, that's a extremely nice move.
And I think
Um,
this is the board two from Temple, who's actually in Japan right now. I think.
oh, they're not Japanese?
And maybe they're. I think I was told that they're like a foreign exchange student.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So, the match times have been hard for them, perhaps.
Hmm.
But it's cool to see that they're playing in the Collegiate Chess League, and we do see the pawn takes, and now Queen G4, like you said, this is gonna be lights out.
Yeah, it says this is mate in 7.
Yeah, you just take on F2 now.
Yep. The idea being that if king f1, we don't take on h3 or f2, but instead we take on d2, which is pretty interesting.
I was wondering if you could take on H3 as well, but this is just
I
me.
think there was because of rook f1, right?
Yeah, Rook F1
Yeah,
ideas,
very clever.
but I don't know.
But um,
Oh no, then. Oh yeah. I well. Let's see.
it was very tricky. Black
Oh, there
had lots
was.
of different ideas there for sure.
Yeah, I was still mate. Okay, so
Ooh,
Temple
let's
gets the
check
first
out
point.
let's check out Tampy's game, the one we haven't checked out yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only reason why is because there was a chance there for black to hang a rook, but just in general, this position could get very tricky for black. Dealing with the knight in the end game is always, uh, nightmare. No pun intended. Um,
Why not? No pun intended.
it just can be difficult at
Okay,
times. Rook
so
e4 is a move that I don't like at all from white.
rook e4, rook takes, pawn. Hmm. And we've lost this. Wait, was there like knight d6 ideas? The rook was hanging there.
I think maybe there were some knight d6 ideas.
Okay, now there's knight e5.
This knight is going to be tricky the rest of this endgame, though.
Knight d7, I like it. Oh,
King
king, yeah.
c6, maybe?
I was thinking c6 exactly. See, this way he's allowing for the check. See, c6,
Just king back to
he would have won the b pawn.
king back to d5, I think here. Ooh, no. Now you allow black's king in, and
He's going after this
this could be
pawn.
GG. Just d3 now.
Yeah, d3.
Your rook cuts the king off. After d3, there's no way for white's king back in. Now there's, some chance, but I think d3 was better after rook a4 check, but it should be basically the same thing here.
Mm. Okay, yeah, check. Yeah, the king wants to come to e2.
Oh, this is
Mm. Rookie one block.
this evaluation. Oh, wait, king
Wait,
c3
yeah, king
was
c3, but rook e2, no? And then check, I guess. Is it
yeah,
perpetual? Why didn't he play king c3? It's so confusing. You gotta
king
attack the
c3.
pawn, right? What? What are both these players doing?
Oh man, it's drawn. It says. I guess you just check, right? Just keep checking.
Yeah, I think black needed to bring the rook to the f file.
And if the king goes to the fourth rank, then you have king c2 attacking the pawn and defending d1,
Here you go.
and the black king is cut off. Wow.
You got to keep checking because if you went king c2 there, that would have been rook c4. And if you go king d1, then rook c1 is mate.
And it looks like Wikipedia just won as well.
Okay,
A
rook
king and pawn
d3
ending.
draws.
Yep.
Yep. All right. So that was
And
wild.
for Wikipedia, that's going to be the extra pawn he took all the way in the opening. Ends up becoming the only pawn left on the board that was going to queen. So turns out it did matter. And that was a pretty exciting first round, to be honest.
Yeah, and Temple takes a slight edge with their board 3, getting that draw against France's board 2, Tampy.
It's a big draw there for Temple. Makes the difference between a round win and a round draw. I mean, Temple getting a round win here in the first round with a board 4 that is significantly lower rated than everybody else who is playing is huge.
Yeah, and that's a good point. RB Spyro for Temple, if they can get some points out of any of these players, that will be huge. And he's playing Tampy, who got the draw in that first round. Tampy's also their team captain from CentraleSupélec.
See.
Also, I wanted to say hi to Kiara in the chat, as well as Alexis Gelles, who we saw play yesterday. Alexis is the team captain of Université de Franche-Comté. So we see a fellow French countryman. They won yesterday against Duke's C team in Division 4. So good to see the French captain of another school cheering on their fellow countrymen from another French university. So we have two French teams. Yeah, they're
to all our fans.
Both trying to make it to semifinals in their respective divisions. So
that would be pretty cool. But I like what RB Spyro is doing here in the opening. They're getting a very good start here against what looks to be some kind of Catalan. So,
Chess.com is saying that this is the English opening, the Great Snake Variation, which I've never heard
well,
of.
that's what they say, but I feel like chess.com has made up like a million names for things. Um,
All the names are
I
made up
think
anyways,
I think it calls it the English,
because it started with
probably because
C4.
it started with this in English move order, but yeah, it's to me it looks a little more Catalan-y. Personally, I'm just gonna throw that out there. But regardless, I do like what RB Spyro is cooking up here in the opening. We'll see if they could get a big upset here in round two.
Mm,
Pretty much any points that RB Spyro can get for the team could potentially swing around. So I'm kind of personally hopeful for that. I think here maybe E5 is a really important shot.
uh-oh, he's
Not
blundered.
F5, which allows 96. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a easy tactic for Tampy to find, and he's gonna lose an exchange here.
On the bright side, he still does have his bishop pair, and that pawn chain is looking kind of cool with the from h7 to e4, but I think here white can just take on f3 and actually work to kind of break that pawn chain down very quickly with f3. And once the position kind of starts getting open, maybe not right away. I guess you have to deal with the threat against d4 after knight takes f8, knight takes f8. So um, not not totally easy to organize here. Even after queen d2, we could see a queen takes or a bishop takes d4 here. Alex for bishop takes, I think I probably would have preferred uh, queen takes as well as knight takes f8 instead of king takes f8. But nonetheless, um, some compensation here for RB Spyro. Not super clear for Tampy just yet. It's going to require a little bit of work and a little bit of finesse. I don't like e3 at all, actually. The bishop is going to be extremely bad on h6 now. I think bishop f6 here for black is probably good. Kind of traps the bishop on h6. If we ever see bishop f4, there's a potential e5 from black, should he need it. So,
E5 if
yeah.
what?
Should black ever need it?
Mm.
That bishop
Yeah,
on
yeah,
h6
yeah. I
like it's
see
just
what you're
kind of like
saying.
trapped, right?
Yeah, interesting.
In fact,
So,
queen takes b2 here is playable, just
another
winning
pawn.
back the material outright right away.
Yeah, and if bishop takes b2, there's rook b1, so that's why we would want to take with the queen. And that would
Yeah,
give two pawns for the exchange, which is good compensation.
indeed. Yeah, especially with that pawn chain and like white's bishop kind of out of play on h6 and the g2 bishop locked in by that pawn chain. You know, I like what I think RB Spyro has as good chances in that game as he may have uh, this whole this whole match. So I will be continuing to watch this one closely, let's say.
All right, so that's our cue to check out another game. We got to check on Wikipedia, of course.
I think so. I like Wikipedia's position here, although it's kind of interesting from Black that they have this pass C pawn and they have control of the queening square with the bishop on A3, which is always very useful. And it also prevents white from doubling their rooks on the C file. However, um, it doesn't look like they really have the firepower to be able to continue advancing that pawn.
Whoa, is
I
that just
don't
a free
like
pawn?
I don't like c4 because it is
Because rook
just a
takes
free pawn, yeah.
c4.
But even regardless, a move like knight d4, should you need to play it, is still fine. But
So yeah,
yeah,
Wikipedia snaps on the pawn, and I also want to point out the clocks. He hasn't used over a minute on his clock, and Blue Sky's down to a minute and a half.
yeah, Wikipedia really really going for it here, definitely. And probably just a4 now.
A4, yeah.
Yeah,
Get
would
that
be my
pawn going.
guess. Might as well, right? Especially when they go bishop f8. That's just free
Mm.
reign to advance our pawn. Knight d4 is understandable though. Centralize the knight, just defend the a4 pawn. But the knight on b3 was somewhat useful as well, defending the a1 square, maybe allowing rook a1 to support that a
Oh
pawn
my
pushing down the
goodness.
board.
We looked away from Spyro for a second with high hopes, and
Oh no! Wait,
what?
what
I
the? Whoa!
Queen
Whoa! Whoa! Whoa!
A4.
Whoa! Oh,
He
b6 I don't
blunders.
like at all. Yeah.
He blunders the back rank. Check,
Oh
check,
no.
check, and mates.
Wow.
That spiraled fast.
That did Spyro very, very fast,
That's unfortunate.
unfortunately. But
But Tampy ties it up for CentraleSupélec. He's saying that he thought knight c5 was trapping the queen. That
ah,
unfortunately did not.
okay. Very tricky, yeah.
All right,
Would have been very, very nice if knight c5 trapped the queen.
let's check on Temple's board two.
They
Dija.
have a very, very nice position here. Um, just in this sort of end game with the bishop pair. Those bishops look extremely strong, and that pawn on e6 is fairly weak. The knight on d8 is super passive. I don't think there's really like, the the fatal blow that exists yet here for white, but definitely the kind of game that you're very happy to squeeze for as long as it takes. Maybe even a move like bishop h3 here is very, very tricky, I think.
Yeah, so the knight
Um,
on d8 is passive, but it is defending the e6 and the b7 pawns, and it also opens up the rook on the c file. So we see white defending this pawn with the move rook e4.
mhm.
So now the king steps
Makes a
up,
good bit of sense.
yeah, helping lend some support to the e6 pawn. Um, the rook on e4 does block our bishop, so maybe we will see bishop h3.
Maybe even something simple first, like what about a bishop e3? Just trying to take this pawn on a7 potentially.
Hmm. Yeah,
I
changing.
just feel like here black has a lot of weaknesses that are easy, for white to attack with one or two moves fairly consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And those positions are always really frustrating to have to defend. And I think the clock could end up being a huge factor in this game where, you know, even if black manages to continue to defend this, he's not going to be happy. And I think it's going to be easy in the long run for white to continue to find these like one move threats that just are so pesky. Um,
Yeah, like rook
and
b to e1 here.
exactly. Whereas it's going to be very difficult for black to continue to always find the move that defends, defends, defends.
Yep, and
Um,
they've played it.
and now
Bishop
maybe
d6,
bishop d6 makes some sense.
but then rook e8, and then not sure how to follow from there.
I don't think you have to do anything too crazy, is the thing. I think forcing the rook back to e8, disconnecting the rooks, removing the rook from the defense of the seventh rank, all are valuable. So, for example, here I would even consider something like rook e or like rook 1 e3, just to try to go rook a3 and attack the a7 pawn. Um,
Whoa, where did all the time go for Junger?
wow,
Jacques.
I guess we've just been talking.
Only 10 seconds now. I thought they were like kind of even on time, but no.
They did
They
both have a
were.
minute.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
were tied, and but now it's white under the time pressure. Speaking of time
So
pressure, Wikipedia is putting the hurt on Blue Sky, so that should be a clinch.
Yep,
How about this
that's gonna
fourth
be
game
GG.
that we haven't looked at? Berduli Guga versus Jim Jimpion. Okay, so both players under a minute, both sides with a knight. Looks like even material, but white has an isolated C pawn.
This looks
Um,
like as equal a game as you could almost get. I like h6 from black just to
Back rank.
never get mated on the back rank.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the knight on C5 was technically pinned because if you trade queens, black would have to take back with a rook and get mated on D8. So
very true, very true. Here, knight e6 looks like it makes some sense. Just kind of puts a knight on a nice defending square and also X-ray sort of attacks the pawn on c2. So we do see c3 here. And now rook c5 is a very nice move to defend the e5 pawn.
yeah, and white's rerouting here. They're doubling on the D file.
I don't like king h7 at all. I liked knight f8 there better for black. Queen c7, I think, makes some sense. Queen c6 even to try to
Oh, offering
exchange
queen
queens is very
trade.
good.
Yes.
Now knight c5 is potentially coming. Definitely exchange rooks. Now knight d6 though.
96.
Oh wow, he just blunders a rook.
Oh my
A
goodness.
huge turnaround for the French team.
Just a
So they
huge
take
blunder.
two, and it looks like
So Wikipedia got their point. So it's tied up
uh
here. It's all down to this game.
I don't think 9-4 QA is going to be able to pull this one out. They're about to flag. Oh my god, they have like point one. Rook takes g7 is GG.
Well, just trade. I mean, they're up a bishop, right?
There's like the a pawn and stuff. Rook takes g7 would have made it much
Oh, bishop
easier. Wow,
skewer
mate.
mate.
Very nice.
Nice
I see what
finish.
the idea was. Very good stuff there. So that round ends up tied 2-2. So Chicago's board one and board two have clutched up here 2 rounds in a
Temples.
row.
Temp. Or wait, you said
Wait, what?
Chicago.
Did I
This
say
is
Chicago? Sorry, I
yeah,
meant Temple.
Temple
Yeah,
versus CentraleSupélec.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now we
Temple's in
see
Chicago, right?
Temple is not in Chicago.
What? Do you know where Temple is, Joe?
Temple is in Philadelphia.
That it is, yes, indeed.
You say that like you.
I concur.
So we got the team captains going at it. Tampy versus Wikipedia. Um, who do you got in this game?
To be honest, I gotta go with Wikipedia here. I mean, he's been killing it so far.
Yeah.
Although he does play some extremely suspect openings. I do have to say
Wasn't he
that.
playing the Scotch that you were a fan of, or do you like the
He was
Steinmetz?
playing I like the white side of that opening, and Wikipedia was playing the black pieces there.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So
But
he's not getting any opening creds here.
when you're playing B3 against in an open Sicilian, I have to question it a little bit. But it looks like he's got a decent start here in the opening, so credit to him. The d6 pawn is very weak long term. E4 pawn's also a little bit weak, and black's pieces are super active here, so
Does
I
bishop
definitely
take e2, just win a pawn?
yes. Um,
There it goes. Oh, but they get the d6 pawn. Okay.
they do, but it's not exactly that great for White. I don't think. Like I don't think White is super excited about
Well, the rook attacks
this
the
exchange
knight
here.
on f6,
That's if you take on d6,
which they do. So now probably
which
like
they
king
do
g7.
indeed.
King g7, but then like rook f1. And like the knight maybe is coming to d5.
If you go rook f1, there's probably knight e8 and bishop takes h2. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, bishop f3, now knight d4 looks very strong. Rook d8 also makes a ton of sense. Just exchanging these guys.
Okay.
Now black has control of the only open file.
Yeah, I was surprised white didn't double. I guess they don't want to hang the H pawn.
Yep.
So, okay.
So the
Yeah,
bishop
white
on f4 is threatened, and you know,
trying to open up the diagonal for the bishop.
yeah.
Okay, I like
Now
c4.
b5, I think, makes a lot of sense. B5 might be met with c. But then we have knight takes f3. I liked I
I
liked
like
leaving the knight on d4 first, I think. Or maybe not, because we allowed bishop takes d4. This is very tricky stuff.
I
Not the simplest ending.
I don't know if white would take though. You leave yourself with the opposite color bishops. That pawn on d4 is passed.
I think you do if you get the double with passed pawns. So like I was saying, if b5, I think
Oh,
there's bishop takes
b5.
d4.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
pawn
now
takes and then
b5.
c5.
Well, now just king d3 and the king's coming to e4. So maybe black wants to go king f5 to
Yeah.
prevent that. Yep, there it is.
But this I don't like because now your f7 pawn looks a little bit weird to me. And, you know, white is about to have two connected passed pawns, and black is not going to have a single passed pawn.
But how are we gonna get two pass pawns?
Um, if c4 gets captured, or if we're able to play c5 at some point.
Yeah, but
For
neither of those
example,
things I could see.
rook d1 and king e2 is one very simple way.
Okay, but white would have to concede the king.
Um,
Are they willing to
Also,
go
you
backwards?
don't even you also don't even need to do that. You could also play a4, which is probably what bishop c3 is um, potentially threatening. Also, bishop a5.
Bishop a5 is an idea for sure. Looks like black's trying to make way for the king to come to f4. So
I
I
like
do like
a4
a4.
here quite
Yeah,
a bit. Yeah,
here I figured they would play h4.
yeah. I think h4 is necessary there for black. Black needs to try to do something, or else he's just gonna basically
I lose
allow
this
a
end game.
queen. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's why once you get that d5 pawn connected after c4, that's just a permanent long-term strength in white's pawn structure because that pawn is connected and passed. Not much black can do about it.
indeed.
Maybe we look at blue sky versus Spyro.
I was checking that out. Unfortunately, it looks like Spyro's position is pretty ugly here.
Pretty cramped.
All those pawns on light squares, the bishop on g7 doesn't really have a long-term future. The bishop on d7 not very good because all of um, a majority of black's pawns are on dark squares. And after a5, we just relinquish control of the b5 square here.
But we get control over b4, and that knight is going in, attacking the rook, attacking the
You
pawn
know,
on a2.
the difference, though, between the control of b4 versus the control of b5 is that white still has a3 in the old back pocket. And unfortunately for black, after playing a5, there are no pawns that can contest a piece landing on b5.
But
So
that's what our bishop on d7's for.
it's just not the same when it's a piece instead of a pawn, you know?
True.
So
So yeah, rook b2, a minor inconvenience, but like you said, a3 is coming up.
yeah,
It's cooking.
knight c3, either knight or bishop b5, a3, put the rook back on c2, and all of a sudden things are looking very, very good there for white. You know, if we get our knight on b5, it doesn't get exchanged. It's going to d6, and
Ooh, bishop
everything's looking
takes
good.
a4.
Somehow bishop takes a4 is even worse here because now a3 is going to come with a bunch of threats against this b6 pawn. You know, it looked potentially nice to double white's pawns here, connect our rooks. We attack a4 with tempo, but really all we do is we just give up the bishop pair. Probably are going to lose both the b6 and the a5 pawns at some point, and white will be able to sort of reroute their bishops like they did with bishop f1. Potentially the same thing with the dark squared bishop going to e1 or d2, and then everything is just going to kind of cascade and crash through. Again, we have no control over the b5 square here. Bishop b5 or knight b5 both look amazing. Again, the knight potentially going to d6, controlling the c8 square, so we have control of both open files at that point.
Poor
It
Spyro. He's got
really,
nothing going for him right now.
dude,
Everything's in White's pocket. Oh
it
man.
really just,
So that's not looking good.
yeah,
But good news for Temple though. Their captain has taken down CentraleSupélec's captain.
yep. Another nice win
So
there
I guess they
for
did take on
Wikipedia.
c4, and we got these double connected pass pawns. Wikipedia wins with the skewer tactic at the end, winning the rook. All right. Maybe we check in with Dijonger against Jim Pion.
That is their all-important board two,
Yeah, he's
who,
been doing
along with
really well.
Wikipedia, has
Yeah,
been carrying Temple in this match.
they're undefeated so far.
And I really like here for white the move rook c7. That knight on a4 is borderline trap. Oh, is there queen takes a7 actually? Here for white after knight b6 or after knight a4? Rook c8. Oh, I didn't even
Wow.
consider that move. Holy, what a move. Oh man, it was low time on the clock.
So the queen stuff's out.
Queen
Uh,
g5. Oh, and now you can take on f8 and play
what about the
queen
move
takes
h4?
a7.
Just h4.
Oh, h4.
Boom. Boom.
Oh man.
White's crushing. There goes the queen. Oh, Janger is from Uzbekistan,
h4.
but it tends. Oh, there's a campus. There's a temple campus in Tokyo. Dude, look at these tactics.
Can we take on h6?
Oh man, so clean.
Dude, what a game, man. That's definitely game of the match so far.
Yeah, rook c8 and h4, super nice.
Just based on the ending alone. b5 now.
Just b5, super clean.
Queen e3.
Or this,
Queen e3 was
too
nice
easy.
because it baits f6 and then we have queen e6, but man.
All right, let's check on Berduli Guga in 94 QA. We haven't checked
Yeah, this is a
in
big
yet.
one. France really needs this one. And it looks like they have a great start to take this one down. Now I do have to give some credit to France. For the most part, their other boards that aren't facing temples, which is in Philadelphia, not Chicago.
Fun
Board
fact.
1 and 2. We love geography in the CCL and on this channel. I feel like we have consistent geography discussions. Is Canada a real country? I think that one is still up in the air. No real consensus
For
decision on that one
debate.
yet. But But regardless of our geography discussions on this channel, um, I do think France is doing a good job of keeping the match very close, despite Temple's board one and board two being both 3-0 so far, if I am not mistaken.
Yep, Jacques Unger just finished their third game, so they've combined for 6 of the 6.5 Temple points, but that's good enough for a 3-point lead.
Oh, RB Spyro maybe kind of mixing it up here, getting low on time.
Let's
There's
see.
some
So,
chances. I mean, that White King is pretty weak. The
ooh, yeah, the
A3 pawn is hanging?
queen's getting in there.
No!
Oh, there goes the queen.
Oh, Spyro, that was our chance, bro.
In
No.
the time pressure, the queen has
Oh, and the
crumbled.
other French player lost while we tuned away.
What? So they
They
traded
just
rooks.
flagged.
The dirty flag. Oh my
They
goodness, and
just
they were winning.
flagged.
So
No
blue
way.
sky got a
Bishop
point
takes
at least.
d5 check. Wow. It's 6 seconds. Was it? Oh man. How do
Bishop
you do
takes
that with
d5.
6 seconds? Bishop takes d5 was just completely winning and a huge 3-1 for Temple. Oh man, are we gonna need to see what a 3.5 out of France in the last round to
Yep,
tie this one up?
France can only allow a draw at this point.
Wow.
But yeah, Spyro, we did see you blunder the queen. We saw that Botez gambit.
Man, yeah, we were really excited about your chances to draw that one.
So I'm also getting
Too
word
bad.
from Temple's captain. Berduli Gaga was on the Georgian under-16 Team World Youth Olympiad in 2011 with the current UTRGV player, International Master Irakli Baratza. So
That was a lot of words
we're bringing
to
back
parse.
the teammates here. They're connected back in the league. Um, Unfortunately, they won't be playing each other since they're in different divisions, but cool to see that we have 2 former under 16 Georgian World Youth Olympiad players,
Indeed.
at least that we know of. There could be even more, perhaps.
Isn't Lile uh isn't
Yep,
she Georgian too?
Lele Karitsa.
Karitsa, I assume is how you would pronounce it.
So it's actually interesting. Both Lele and Irakli, their last names end with DZE, so maybe that's a common Georgian ending to a last name.
Potentially it is, and potentially we're seeing a very quick end to Wikipedia's game.
Oh,
He's
is he
just
gonna
down
just?
a
Oh, he's down.
extremely clean pawn here.
So this is the board
Um,
one versus board one matchup that we wanted to see.
we see an early knight d5 here, very nice.
Okay,
I think we can take on f6 with check and take on h7.
take. Wait, what? If queen takes back on f6, isn't there rook h6? Oh, there's queen
Queen
g8.
g8.
But okay, interesting.
Could potentially also just go like queen h4 here.
H4 pinning the knight to the queen.
Yep, if they take on d5, we just exchange everything. At the end, the rook on g6 will be attacked. There's a lot going on there for sure, but again, can't say I'm a huge fan of Wikipedia's position here. So, ooh,
They do trade.
oh, and now black is just completely winning, eh? What did I miss?
I don't
I
know.
guess nothing. I guess nothing special. I guess just the pieces are super strong. Oh man, yeah, the queen is basically like trapped in there. We're just gonna see like castles long, two open files. I forgot about the bishop on h7 as well, which is insanely strong now.
Hmm. We can't just go like bishop e3.
No. Bishop e3 might be our only chance, but on bishop e3, I think I'm just gonna play castles long. Take on a7, I'm gonna go rook h8 and win a queen.
Hmm. Yeah. Um. Well,
Oh,
White went for that line that you're talking about, taking that pawn. They're up 2 pawns, but yeah, this queen on h7 is very interesting. I
no.
guess why can't we go like queen h5? Oh, is there bishop g4 there?
Queen h5. There is indeed bishop g4 there.
That's so annoying. The queen has
Yeah.
to go back to h7, and then black just castles or something. That's so
So
brutal.
I guess the queen is just like trapped, huh?
Wow.
And they're spending so much time here.
Well, because what do you do?
Wow.
Maybe you
What
go
a game.
maybe h3 to play queen h5.
Bishop e3, and we see quickly castles from Wikipedia and rook
Take,
h8.
yeah, there it is, and they just trade. So was
Oh, and
that
this is mate, it looks like.
bishop and wow with rook g2, crazy.
So how is this just mate, is
Rook
my
g2,
question.
king takes queen h3, king g1,
Ah,
queen
okay.
g4,
Yep. Queen f3, bishop h3.
king
Right.
h1, queen
Very
f3,
nice.
king g1, bishop
We'll see if
h3.
that would be a very fancy way to finish this game off for Temple, which again, to
Clinches the
reiterate for the
win.
chat, if you're new here, is in Philadelphia and not Chicago.
You're the
Um,
one that keeps bringing that up. You could have said that like the temple colors reminded you of Chicago's colors, and no one would have thought that you thought Temple was in Chicago. But
I never said that I thought Temple was in Chicago. I just simply said the wrong thing. My brain was
I thought
elsewhere.
maybe there was like a oh
No.
kind of
The
moment. Like where is Temple?
So the reason I know where Temple
It's
is
because
the Arizona Cardinals football team. Um, they were in the NFL draft, and this is one of the first years the draft was not at Radio City Music Hall in New York City. A little more geography knowledge for you. And it was being hosted in Philadelphia. This was the Patrick Mahomes draft, and the Cardinals, who were going to take Patrick Mahomes, if the Chiefs didn't trade up for Patrick Mahomes, ended up having to take a Temple player named Hassan Reddick, who was excited to be drafted in his hometown. He was from Temple. The NFL draft was in Philadelphia, so that's how I know that.
I thought you knew Temple because it's like Tempe but without the L.
No, in fact. Also, Wikipedia does miss here the mate,
This is the mate. But still
and this gives White a chance with his pieces.
but they just want an exchange.
So,
So it's queen versus two bishops. The queen versus
man,
the bishop pair.
Wikipedia had all the time in the world there and could not
I mean,
manage
rook g2
to
is
find the
not the
mate.
easiest to find, but
I think it's definitely the move you have to consider, but he probably was seeing stuff like bishop h3 check and queen to the g file, or like queen check on the g file, then bishop h3, and couldn't make any of this stuff work. But we just gotta look for checks. Rook takes g2 check, queen h3 check, queen g4 check, queen f3 check, bishop h3.
always check. It might be mate.
Check, 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 check,
Let's check
check.
on Spyro. This is they're both board fours are 0 for 3 right now. So this is both players' opportunity to get on the scoreboard. A must
This
win
is an interesting one.
for France. And looks like
I
Spyro's
like the
doing all right.
idea here of playing rook b, E1.
I'm wondering if like I was trying to make B4 work, but just simply rook D1 is good.
I was trying to make B4 work as well. You could also just take on E2. I think it all kind of
Yeah.
evens out a little bit, but
So there you go. Rook B to E1.
nice.
Threatening mate in 2.
Yes, that's one of the things that I did like about it.
Always good to threaten mate.
We likely will see H6 here from black, I would imagine.
Or trading on E2. There it
Now we
is.
can take with the queen and threaten mate again. Very fancy.
Queen takes. That is
Maybe we
threatening
could
mate.
maybe we could bait black into like a queen b6 check here.
No,
Alas,
no,
no.
there's the H pawn.
And now I think maybe something simple like
Wait,
c3
what were you trying to
seems
bait?
very
Queen
reasonable.
Queen B6?
Hmm. And queen
Why?
takes b2.
Oh, but okay.
See, Joe, this is what chess is all about.
Just trying to
Just
blunder pawns for mate.
playing hope chess. Yes. There you
That's
go.
what a
Now you
wonder was
understand.
saying. Did you see we had a wonder on stream
I did
giving
not see
commentary?
that. It's very exciting.
I thought you like liked one of our tweets or something.
I'm sure that I did because I love to support the CCL
I
on
do.
Twitter.
I
Check
see
us
that.
out.
Yeah. There's the queen
Um,
b6 move. So maybe they blunder the rook on d8 by taking on b2.
feel like that's not gonna happen
Well,
now.
you were okay. You
I
think
feel
they
like
would blunder
queen takes
mate, but not the
d8 is a much
more
more
obvious.
visible.
Okay.
uh, Queen b4 I
Um,
don't like at all.
Shout out to Chris Herrera who just followed. Appreciate that. One of the former players from Boise State. Black's
Um,
threatening rook d2 right now
Black is threatening a lot of stuff,
and
although
queen
we do
c2.
once again have queen e7 here. I did want to mention though, I really didn't like queen b4 there from white. I feel like white had a decent edge, but this would allow black to put white on their back foot. After queen takes b4, a takes b4, rook d2, rook c1 is the only very passive way to defend the c2 pawn, which allows black to kind of get going in this game.
So Spyro, I
We
think,
do
is
see queen
losing their extra
e7.
pawn after rook d2, threatening both g2 and c2. I think the only move there really is rook g1. You could give some
Well,
checks, but
I would give the checks first, I think.
e8, king
Also,
h7, queen e. Whoa!
if you go
Black just
rook
goes back.
g1 and you take on c2, b7 is hanging if you leave the queen on e7, which is worth noting.
Okay, that's a good point.
So,
Good point. B2 would have been hanging there too, but okay. Spyro's holding on to the extra pawn. Very low on time though.
also
Uh,
c6 was then hanging. Um,
oh, good point. Good point. And you'd be left with the passed A pawn. All right, we have no results yet, but players are very low on time on all the boards. Let's check on Tampy.
Wikipedia is about to flag
Oh, flag his
Jampion.
opponent. Yeah, so Wikipedia still up a queen. The champion is going to go down. And Tampy, how's Tampy doing? Tampy's down material as well. Oh, but Tampy gets a huge check. That's a fork. They picked up a
Oh,
free rook. Okay, so Tampy swinging things around here in the last seconds of the match. Oh, the knight's coming in, attacking the rook, attacking the bishop. Knight f4, threatening mate on g2. And they flagged. Oh, man. So that
wow.
clinches the match. So Jacques Unger goes 4 for 4. Huge
As
result.
does Wikipedia.
You're calling Wikipedia's game here?
I'm calling this one.
It looks like there's another queen. Insert a spite check, but that extra queen turned out to be good for Wikipedia. Uh oh, under promote. Fancy. Trying not to
Yep.
stalemate. That's a Julian Landau move.
Wow, so that's a double 4-0 from board one and board two. Talk about when you need a great performance from your best two players.
That's got to be the best top two combo out of Chicago besides a Wonder and Praveen.
Out of who?
A Wonder and Praveen.
No, sorry. Out of where did you say?
Chicago.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Sticking to our theme here.
The temple whereabouts continue to be
Oh,
up for debate.
Spyro got swept though. So Lei Quan
Uh,
on with their first point of the match against
couldn't
Spyro.
quite pull it out, huh? Let's
So let's
see
see, yeah, what went
what
wrong
happened
here.
in
So
Spyro's game.
Spyro was up a pawn, and where did it spiral out of control? So they
I
lost the
think
C2 pawn.
I think what ended up happening,
Oh.
yeah, Rook E3 was tough. But I think in general there for Spyro, if you're in the chat, a little advice is just that when you're up a pawn like that, like you don't the goal isn't just to like exchange pieces. Like I feel like you were trying a little bit too hard to exchange queens instead of leverage the fact that you were up a pawn to be able to play more aggressively. Oftentimes, when you're getting lower on pieces and closer to like an end game, it's more about like the initiative and being able to attack weaknesses and control squares more so than it is about just getting all the pieces off the board, like trying to trade queens, trying to trade rooks, and then win the king and pawn ending. It's normally very hard to do that, and you have to play like weird passive moves that sort of allow your opponent to kind of claw back in the game and create threats against you. Whereas you can leverage the fact that they're trying to win back the material as a way to essentially have the time to put the pressure on your opponent. And that typically is much more valuable. So um, unfortunate, but you definitely played a lot of very strong games. So I do want to credit you for holding your own against players that were like 500 and 600 points higher rated than you. So overall, a very impressive performance here from Temple. They definitely deserve to move on, that's for sure.
Yeah. So not the best showing for RB Spyro, but didn't need it as their top two boards combined for 8 out of their 9.5 points. And like you said, they're moving on to the finals of Division 2. And that's good advice for Spyro. Hopefully they'll be back next week and put some
That would
of
be
that
exciting.
advice to good use. But let's check out on these prizes. Let's see what that has won Temple here. So it looks like in Division 2, this guarantees them at least $1,000 for second place.
Holy, that's
So that's big
that's
money for
not
Temple.
insignificant. Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
If they win next week, they will get themselves a grand prize of $2,500. So
Whoa.
yeah, they're in the money. Let's check out who they might be playing next week in Division 2. If we check out our brackets. And it looks like they will move on to face the winner between Duke and University of Illinois.
Hmm. Oh, do you know what's in Illinois?
Temple.
Not Temple. Temple's in Pennsylvania, but Chicago happens to be in Illinois. Curious. Hmm.
Yeah, but
Very
Illinois,
interesting.
Urbana-Champaign though, that's like closer to St. Louis.
Hmm.
Uh, but anyways, congrats again to Temple taking down CentraleSupélec. CentraleSupélec, they're still also in the money. They have a chance of winning next week in the third place match, so they are not eliminated. They have something to fight for still. Right now, they're still guaranteed $300 for a chance of earning $500 if they win next week. But we will be watching uh, the other Division Two matchup, I believe, tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. For now, Butta and I have a 30-minute break before the next match starts. We have a Division 3 matchup to watch between
Ooh.
Boston University and the Indian Institute of Technology. So stick around for that. Like I said, we'll be back in about 30 minutes. Congrats again to Temple, and good luck
Yep,
to both teams in next week's matchups.
indeed.